Hi everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with part 1 of the My Monthly Hero monthly card kit, and this is for June, but again, it is part 1. So you can see the stamp set, you can see little stickers, an awesome embossing powder, and some ink pads. So let's just jump right in with card number 1. So I first used my Lawn Fawn stitched rectangle to cut out this panel, and then I grabbed a double stitched circle die from my stash, and I cut out, of course, that circle. I'm then going to lay this on top of another panel that I have cut, and I'm just using a pencil because I just want that line sitting there. I want to know how big this opening's going to be. I grabbed my Memento black ink because I couldn't find my VersaFine. But it's black. I'm good. And I stamped the sentiment with sympathy. It's not perfectly straight, but you know what? I'm okay with that. These are handmade cards. So, again, we're not Hallmark. We can mass produce, but again, it's okay that it's crooked. So I wanted to play with the clouds. So I came up with this idea. And I'm showing you the process. When I come up with ideas, if I do any pre-planning, it's with gray ink, this scrap gray ink that I have that I just get from my local craft store, and I just start stamping. So there's really no rhyme or reason of what it's going to look like until I get the colors. So I'm using my Stamp Perfect tool from Hampton Arts. This is no longer available. It was very quickly taken off the market, and I do have both of them. But I am finding I'm using my Tim Holtz one more and more. But anyway, so you can see I used the palest color from the cubes that we were given in the kit for the solid, the first layer. Now, the clouds only have 2 layers. So for the second, I'm using the soft granite, which also came in the kit as well. I did really well with these cubes this time. Usually, I do not have any luck with the colors. I'm doing it this time. So after I have the clouds stamped, I'm then going to grab the birds and I'm going to stamp them on this panel as well. So you can see the 2 different effects with the gray and the very, I think it's soft sky, I believe, or mist. I just don't have it in front of me. You can see the contrast, and I kind of like it. You know, it doesn't always have to be white. You know, clouds really aren't, well, they're white, but there's also other colors. So I'm just trimming this down. I'm using my 9.5-inch shears from Tonic Studios, Tim Holtz. These are my favorite to use when it comes to long shears. I really haven't tried any others. I mean, I do have others, but they're not as long as these that are just generic. You can see I was going to go in the way of shaker card. I changed my mind. I just put faux tape around it because I do want to prop this up over the image that I just stamped. And I'm going to use my white eraser to erase my pencil line. And now I'm going to put that panel back on top of that. And you can see the clouds are just the only thing that's coming through. I'm using my Altenew tape runner. I have so many tape runners. It is a dot tape runner, and I'm going to place my panel down onto my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. Know that all my card bases for this part 1 video are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding, or they could be side folding. I then grabbed my Spectrum Noir glitter pen, and I'm just going in the gray area, just giving it some accents and some highlights. And that's our first card. So for our second card, I wanted... Okay, you know how there's always a card in my 10 card 1 kit series that is just like what I call bomb, but I still keep going? This is it. This is the one. But I really wanted to play around with this spray that they came in the kit. And look, see how it's bubbling? That just intrigued me. It's like reacting. And it's only paper, but I don't know what the bubbles are. Okay, I probably didn't read up on it. I'm sure it's somewhere. But I just thought that was very odd and very strange. But that's okay. We kept on going. Then I really wanted to play with the embossing powder. I really loved the look of it. There's some chunky things in there, so you want to remember to, I like to heat underneath first just to get it started, and then when I bring my heat onto the top, it won't blow off the pieces. This isn't super chunky though, but the more you have on there, the better of effect that you do get. So you can see I'm heat setting underneath, and then I just went around it. I wanted to go with a brown, yeah, I got frustrated there, because I wanted a brown sentiment. So I figured alcohol, my archival ink. Yeah, it didn't work, because it was too light. So I'm like, okay, we're going to go over with the Versamark ink, praying that I get it right. And then I used my copper blush by Nuvo. It worked, but I do have a shadow because I didn't go right on top of where I stamped with the archival ink. But you know what? That's okay. I got to really play with these products. Love, 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 love the embossing powder. I love the effect. If you hear that lawnmower, that would be my awesome husband who felt the need to cut the lawn right now. Sorry about that. If you hear it, I'm not quite sure. Anyway, but I did also, get to play with that spray. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air with the spray. I think that's the only time you're going to see it. I did go around the edge with some vintage photo. And I wanted to do that to see, okay, how's it going to react on the embossing powder and the spray. It did fine on the embossing powder. I really liked it. And it stayed there because I tried to rub it off. Propped it up with some double-sided foam tape and stuck that down onto my card base. So, yeah, it's okay. I got to play with the products. But again, we keep going. So for our third card, very simple. But one of the other things, not only did I love the clouds that were in this kit, I know, not the ocean, the clouds. I also loved this hello stamp and the feet. I find when it comes to the Hero Arts kits, I'm not giving up on them. They are very challenging sometimes. But I tend to gravitate to certain things in the kit. So again, we do what inspires us and what gives us that creative thought process. So you'll see just these few things that kind of does it. It's just something I noticed. So you can see on this little panel, I used my wonky stitched frame die. Oh, I'm sorry. On the second card, I used the, oh my goodness, penny black vintage frame. All right, back to this one. So this is a small panel. When I cut that out, and now I'm going to heat set the hello and the little feet. The feet were cute. Love the feet. And I did use the embossing powder that came with the kit. I'm going around the edges with some vintage photo, and then I'm going to come in with my finger sponge daubers, and I'm going to use antique linen and gathered twigs. And I'm just going to cover this panel. Now, I could have done that first, but again, I really wanted to test the embossing powders, and you know what? I didn't lose anything. I didn't lose the color. It didn't, I actually did heat set it correctly. So again, these are just ways that I test, and you're actually seeing that. I didn't lose, even though I put the vintage photo around the outer edge. I didn't lose that. But I just used those colors just to get like a sandy look. It probably would have looked good if I used an emboss pen and just put some dots around and then spread the embossing powder around. So that's another idea too. Of course, I need to enhance the vintage photo because it is one of my favorite things. And this is just going to go on the front. Now, this cardstock is from my stash. It's like a blue heather. Unfortunately, I do not know where I got it or where it came from. So, sorry about that. In case somebody asks, where did you get that cardstock? I have no idea. I'm going to prop this up using some foam squares. And that's all we're going to put on the front. Now, I actually did stamp on the inside of this card. And one of the other sentiments, that was one thing I did like. I did really enjoy all of the sentiments of this kit. I thought they were great. And just to be able to say, greetings from my happy place. We all know how I feel about the word happy. Happy everything. I just thought it was great. So I stamped that on the inside. Again, it's not straight. I had the card crooked. It's okay. Okay? Again, no Van Goghs here, no Picassos, no Hallmarks. These are handmade cards. So what's most important, we need to enjoy it. I added the little palm tree off to the side as well. And that is card number 3. So for card number 4, I wanted to use the smaller stamps that came in the kit. The dolphin, the starfish, the ball, the palm tree, and again, I can't say this word, seashell. I just can't. It's, you know, there's some words that everybody can't say correctly. That would be mine. So I took one of my dies from the stash. I drew around it to have the circle. And now I've pulled out some of my Gina K inks. And the first color I'm using here is Moonlit Fog. The second one I'm using is Innocent Pink. And I have one of those stamps associated with each of these colors. You can see them lined across the top there. And I'm just going to stamp in this circle. So again, I'm going to be creating a wreath. I like creating wreaths. I did it in the previous one. I've done it a couple times. It's just something that I tend to go back. It's simple. And it all depends on what the images are that you're using. You could get a really cool effect. So just keep that in mind. So the green that I used there was Jelly Bean. And now I'm pulling in one of her new colors, Sea Glass. And that is for the seashell. And then the next one that I'm going to come in with is the large starfish. And that is in Sweet Corn. I love the names of her inks. But I do have all of them, and I got the new colors. The new colors are absolutely gorgeous. And then the final one is Prickly Pear. I love that name. And I'm going to fill in with that one. And again, her inks do dry back. And they do level themselves out. The sentiment I'm using again is Greetings from my happy place. And I'm going to stamp that right in the center. This time I'm going to try to stamp it a little straighter than what I have been. And then I'm going to grab my wonky stitched frame die from My Favorite Things and cut this out. Because I didn't do it first because I wanted to make sure that if I went over, the stitches would go through, just in case somebody was curious. That's why I kind of used the die afterwards. I grabbed my Sea Glass Jewel Nouveau Drams, and I'm just adding a few throughout the piece on a diagonal. And I grabbed a card base from my stock, or excuse me, from my stash. Well, I have a stock too. And I'm just going to glue this panel directly down onto the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card base. And that is our 4th card. So, now we're really going to have some interesting fun here. So, I pulled out my long post-it tape, and I'm going to set that down, and I'm starting out with antique linen and my gathered twigs. I'm using my Nouveau blending brush, which I shouldn't be doing because I totally forgot I had my other brushes for my Distress Oxides. But don't worry, it doesn't ruin it. I just need to make sure I wash it out. There was nothing on that side. So I'm putting down a layer of the antique linen using the brush. It gives a different effect than using a sponge or a mini blender applicator. Instead of the gathered twigs oxide, I wanted to come in and use my vintage photo. because you can use these together and they do blend very well together when you go from distress ink to oxide. So you can layer those colors. I'm then going to take the tape, cover up the sand part that I just did, and now I'm going to use Faded Jeans, Broken China, and Shaded Lilac, and you can see I have the correct brushes now because I realized this. And I'm just going to do the same thing. So now I'm creating the sky portion, and I just want a hint of purple in there because eventually we're going to come in with the ocean. So I just wanted that to differentiate these two lines, and I'm looking for an evening sky. But I didn't want to go too dark with it, if that makes sense. So I'm just going back and forth, and you can see when I want to change colors, especially through the Broken China to the Faded Jeans, I just scribbled off in that manner to get off that color, and then I'm able to go into the darker blue. Because that's what's nice with these. I just have them, the number that I need for the colors. So I have one for blue. Whether it's light to dark, I'm going to use that one. So all you have to do, you can even have a wet baby wipe along the side, and you can wash it in there and then just dry it off onto your towel. So that's how I work with those. And that's how I store them. I just have an awesome Starbucks mug because I love coffee. Yes, have lots of those. So I'm going to pull off my tape now, and you can see we have now the line between the sand area and also the sky. So this is my base. I wanted just to have a base layer. So I'm going to pull out my stamp positioning tool again. And now we're going to work on the ocean part. So we're going to have that come up a little bit more. But I wanted to start with the dark. And the main reason why I did that is because I forgot to start with the light. I'm going to be honest. It's exactly what I did. For some reason, I just grabbed for this. So you can see I've got the dark. Now I'm coming in with the next color from the kit. And I stamp everything 2 times. Now I'm coming in with the lightest. And I'm going over that dark. And now I'm coming in again with a second layer. Focusing on the bottom portion. Now for this part here, I actually stamped it like 3 or 4 times. Because I really wanted that lighter shade to show up. This stamp set that I have from Simon Says, it's called Lots of Dots. Let me tell you what, I get more use out of this. There's solid circles and there's outline circles. It is amazing what I have done with this. It's a good stamp set for your stash. I'm using my Gina K white pigment ink, and you're going to see what I like to call a happy accident. I have stamped this circle using the pigment many times. There was like 5 or 6 times that I did this. See how I made that fist? Yes. Thank goodness we take the original audio out. But what happened was it bled through the Post-it tape, which I should have realized it was going to do that. Totally forgot. However, I'm loving it. It looks like it's glistening off of the ocean. So again, happy accident. If you keep using pigment ink over a Post-it, depending upon what you're doing, you could get a cool effect. Okay, just putting it out there. So over water, you should do that, not over land. You don't want to do that. Okay, back to this. So after the happy accident, I'm then stamping the birds, and I used my VersaFine ink, and I'm stamping the sailboat in my black as well. I pulled out my embossing pen, and see where the blue is going over the sand. I'm actually creating that line and creating a spray to come up off of that, if that makes sense. Then I'm going to come in with my Versamark pad and just fill in the bottom part of it. Now, you want to be careful because your oxide will react and move. So just tap. So I'm applying I lost this footage. So I'm applying the embossing powder to the bottom, and it looks like it's spraying up onto that. And I was careful because I didn't want the embossing powder to go over, because then it would have gone on my white moon. So that is the front. I didn't want to put a sentiment on the front. I think it's different looking. So on the inside, I'm going to stamp, "See you soon." And again, love the sentiments. So those, excuse me, those are the 5 cards that we made from part 1 of the My Monthly Hero monthly kit. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Just hit that button and stay up to date with all the videos that are released. All the products that I used outside of the kit will be linked down below. But as always, if I forget something, which we all know I will because it's what I do, just let me know in the comments, and I will get you that link as soon as I can. If you do have any questions or comments, please leave them down below and I will get back to you as soon as I can. I do try to answer every comment. I apologize if I miss one. I'm not ignoring you. It's just that sometimes I get a lot of comments that come through, so it's tough to keep up with it. But I do my best. If I do, just let me know. I'll get back to you. I hope everyone's having a great day. I hope everyone is enjoying their weekend. But remember, everyone, what's always most important to me, always, be creative.